brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, it's time!
3 on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Float game for the win! Taylor's gone. Goodbye. Touchdown, Indy. Woo! IU. America. They got a football team now.
Pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome into another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday. Glad to have you along. Thanks a lot for joining us, no matter where or how you're listening on this beautiful, beautiful Thursday. Coming to you from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. Looking forward to a packed day. Let's say that. Making up for not having a show yesterday. Shannon Griffith, coach, on with us. We'll talk some football, of course. Bob Kravitz from bobkravitz.com. Mike DeCourcy, Chris Denari. The Pacers keep winning. And a visit from our old buddy K-Bro. How's everybody doing? Glad to have you, like I said. Appreciate the comments coming along as well, no matter where or how you're listening. Some of our great affiliates like 97.7 ESPN, The Ref, always the right call in Evansville. Up in the region on 104.7 FM, 1230 AM, the voice of the region, WJOB. And Fort Wayne Sports Station, 1380, The Fan. Keep it locked right there. No reason to go anywhere else. And if you're following on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed, locked in, hit the notifications toggle, and go to thehoosier.com. That's where you need to subscribe. Information daily, nonstop, coming out from there. And we'll be talking to Joe Tipton from On 3 tomorrow, in addition to Alec Lasley, as the basketball program. Still kicking the tires on guys. Yeah, and I meant to start the show by saying, hello, friends. But I missed that opportunity. Gritty beat me to it, though. Great comment. The Masters underway at Augusta. And so we got all kinds of stuff happening. Football visitors coming in. Indiana kicking the tires there. Basketball the same. Portal guys, Indiana among many schools in contact with highly coveted big man Ante Brozovic. And I don't know if that's how you say his last name. I'll be honest with you. I'm just guessing, but it's a good guess, as good as others. So, a football program not expected to see any drop-off, especially in the running backs room. You've got an improved offensive line. We'll talk about that. And they've boosted the room up. You've got Justin Ellison, Tyson Lawton, who left and graduated. And Elijah Green left, but they've added Roman Hemby. They're good. They're good. So much to talk about, man. Wilkerson visited this weekend. Indiana set to have another visit, I believe, with, I think that the big man is coming in for a visit. Lamar Wilkerson. Yeah. He's set to receive a visit. Somebody said he visited this weekend. That's not quite true, but we'll take a pause for the cause here in a second to get things rolling. In Indiana, Sam Houston transfer guard Lamar Wilkerson, one of the top guards in the portal, planning his visits after the dead period ends, which means he has not made his visits. The dead period runs through this Thursday, through today, so they can start visiting again tomorrow. on Monday on 3, national reporter Pete Nakos, who is just with us, put in a prediction for Indiana to land the talented guard with medium confidence, which I wish I'd have known that, because I would have said, what the hell does that mean? How can you make a prediction with medium confidence? But, oh well. Brian says, IU also after the 6'10 player who is suing the NCAA for more eligibility. Oh, I didn't know. Oh, yes. Well, then that's an automatic win. Automatic win. Hey, Coach Shannon Griffith is going to join us next. We're going to get into some football. Glad to have you along for the ride. We're going to take a quick pause for the cause. Back with more from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Thursday, right after this.
At Ben Davis Chevrolet and Ben Davis Ford in Auburn, we're your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. We have the area's best selection of over 300 vehicles, including new cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. And if we don't have what you're looking for, we'll find it for you. We also have top-of-the-line service and parts, plus a collision repair center, and we're competitively priced on everything. For sales, service, collision, parts, and more, we do it all. Come see us today or visit us online at bendavischevrolet.com and bendavisford.com.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemoreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum, Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Thursday. Glad to have you along, and now joined by our good friend, Coach Shannon Griffith. How's it going, man?
Good morning. It's a little colder this morning up here in the north. Still haven't seen the sun that much, but hopefully we'll get some better weather here as we head into the spring game a week from today.
Football weather, man. Football weather.
Well, remember last year, remember how hot it was? Because we did the kind of a post spring game wrap, and it was hot and muggy that evening last year. And so hopefully we'll have a little bit somewhere in between, that nice 70, 75 October fall weather.
Hey, and before I forget, want to make sure everybody knows that it's Alec Lasley, and I'll have him on tomorrow and he can talk about it more. But Coach Shannon Griffith bringing Hoosier Tailgate football program to thehoosier.com and On 3, now part of the On 3 family, man. Congratulations.
Well, I appreciate it, and looking forward to being a part of a all IU fan-based page and things of that nature with all the special content that you guys have put out there at the Hoosier.com. It's amazing of the coverage that one gets there and the new special there to get on board because of the joining of the On 3. What is it, like $1 to sign up and 50% off for the first year? I mean, that in itself right there is a bargain, because on top of what the Hoosier.com provides in coverage,
there's no one On 3 as a network itself. There's no one that comes close to putting out not the content, just the content, but the breaking stories. Nobody is breaking stories like On 3 does.
Yeah.
And that is going to continue and continue to carry over to the Hoosier.com as well. So that is now the place to be to find out information, people.
Well, and then on top of that, you know, the recruiting aspect of it, like you said there with the breaking stories, On 3 is led by Steve Wilfong, who's a Indianapolis man who is their head of recruiting. I guess you could say there at On 3. But you know what I like about On 3 is all the roster setups and things of that nature, where they kind of give you a guesstimate of NIL value, or what is somebody potentially receiving an NIL money or anything of that magnitude. Now, got to take it with at least a grain of salt, because it is a guesstimate in some respects, but they're the only one that really does that, you know, with it, you know, putting out a value of a kid's estimated NIL value and things of that nature. So it's a great A to Z coverage of not just football, but all the sports involved, that everybody would have an interest in.
Yeah. Do you know who the top of the heap NIL valued player is? And it's not even close. Arch Manning.
Oh yeah. He's like 3 mil. He came in as a freshman at Texas, even before taking any snaps, and they valued him at $3 million. Then
didn't he turn all of that down at start?
I'm not quite sure the total backstory there on all of that, but I just knew that it was crazy to think here's a kid that's never taken a snap at Texas or in college football, but they already had valued him at $3 million.
Well, it's because of all the other things that goes into this. Your followers on social media, your presence, your reach, what you can do, your name, what it does, how the attention that it draws. Every time it's put into an article, there's just all kinds of things that go into that.
Yeah, they got all these algorithms and things of that nature, and the followers and things of that magnitude. And you got him. And even, you know, it's impressive enough is some of these kids are so good in the social media sphere that they can make these deals with, you know, anyone and everyone. And, you know, they're able to do that and promote a product, a service, whatever, and, you know, utilize their talents, not just on and off the field. So it's a great setup there at On 3. And then of course, what the Hoosier.com brings to the table. And I enjoy being a part of a group that's excited about what they do, irregardless of sport. You know, there's an enthusiasm about it. So being more centralized and things of that nature, and nothing against the Believe Network, which I was a part of. They treated me right and things of that magnitude. I just felt that it was more comfortable for me to be involved on a level that serviced just the Indiana programs. And
well, I know that they're looking forward to it, man. Looking forward to having your content on there. They're going to love it, and the fans will as well. Curtis Rourke updates his current situation at the Colts, as they had a local pro day this past Tuesday. Curtis Rourke was there, did not participate, but he was able to provide a very positive update on his health status ahead of the NFL draft later this month. He didn't throw. When he spoke to the media, he's just now getting cleared to do some full rep stuff this week. Just getting back to health. Mm-hmm. But I think that, you know, the NFL is like no other as far as dissecting a human being before the draft. I mean, they literally dissect the human being. It's like they might as well just put them on a table, splay them out, open them up, and look at them. One thing they won't have to look at is the heart on Curtis Rourke. But you know what? They've got enough tape. I just he can make the throws. He's not going to be a starter anywhere. He's going to be a great backup if he gets drafted. And if he doesn't, he's going to have a great career in the CFL.
Yeah.
Along with his brother.
Yeah. Well, like you said, he's got all types of backup in that regard. And
swap shop name, please.
I have no idea what this is.
Yeah, that happens to me every now and then.
I know. It's just a crazy deal. It's some telemarketer wanting me to represent their product, I guess. But
there you go. Hey, from one of the top rushing attacks in the Big Ten to one of the bigger questions on Indiana's offense this year, the transition in the running backs room was notable this offseason for the Hoosiers.
Yeah.
You know, they lost Tyson Lawton, Justice Ellison, Solomon Van Horst. They're both gone. Then Elijah Green left. But they brought in Leo Beebe from UAB, Roman Hemby from Maryland to add to that. But they've also beefed up the offensive line. And that was the weakest link in the Indiana chain last year.
Well, you know, I think every season that Indiana has gone into has always had a little bit of a question mark on the offensive line. There was a couple of years under Wilson where their offensive line was pretty darn good, and the results of that are some guys are in the NFL from that era on the offensive line. But it's been a huge question mark on whether or not they had 5 capable guys, and then they had adequate backups. But there's always a big drop. I think now you can go into this year and say that the offensive line will be one of the strengths of Indiana's total team, because you've got Carter Smith back, Evans is back, Lynch is back, bring in Coogan from Notre Dame, who's a star of a player there, and what he brings you on the table in that regard. So it's a whole remake of the offensive line.
Khalil Benson back. Don't forget about it.
Benson's back, and then you got the big boy Zen
Mikowski from Floyd Central, Highlander.
That's right.
Ohio State.
Maybe we call him Zeus because he's like 6'8" and
no, he's 6'9".
6'9".
He's a gigantic human. I've told this story. I went down and watched him play when he was still in high school, his senior year at Floyd Central. They were playing down in Bedford, and I was like, I just stood there with my jaw open. And I'm like, what am I looking at? There was this mountain of a dude down there, and 3 little minions trying to get around him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's a human right there.
Yeah. And excuse me. The fact is that, you got that front 5, but I think you had Holden States at tight end, and Riley Nowalski also there at the tight end position, both transfers. Be hard to replace Horton, what he did for you, but I do think as a whole, it's a great start to the season of these guys, 5 guys. And then of course what they've got in depth, which I do think they've got some depth now. So Coach Bobstead has done a phenomenal job with what he's had. And he's put out a reputable offensive line since he's been here, even though he was doing it with smoke and mirrors sometimes. I do think it's a strength of Indiana this fall that the offensive line is one of the big groups that will be a star, a shining star on the offensive side of the ball this year.
Yeah, and that's just when it comes down to it, the offensive line is going to have to, I don't want to say make or break Indiana, but let's get real. we know that they could play well. We saw them play incredible football last year. While it was a shock to see what we saw, but we saw it. But what we didn't see is the ability to get past that next level, and it was strictly because of the offensive line and the lack of, I don't want to say talent, depth, or whatever. But that was the chink in the armor, but they've made adjustments there, and I agree with you. I've said that I think it's going to. It has going to go from the absolute weakest link in the chain to not being the weakest link in the chain. And now the weakest link in the chain is stronger. And
Yes.
when your weakest link in the chain is strong, then you are very strong. So that's why I keep saying that I think that this is going to be a better team. I'm not sure that their record is going to be better because their schedule is juiced, but it's still going to be a better team. And because of that, they'll have the opportunity to do even better things than last season, if that's possible. And it is possible, but they're going to have the opportunities. They're going to get the chance to go on the road to Iowa, to Oregon, to Penn State, and to prove something. And you win one of those 3 games, I'm telling you, I think, and you cover everything at home, they're back in the college football playoffs.
Yeah, they've got a logistical shot with, like you laid out there, in terms of some of the bigger games that they'll face. And that was last year when they faced those better teams. Of course, it was later in the year, and you could tell Indiana had worn down some with some injuries and things of that magnitude. But, you talked about the running back room, losing Lawton, losing Ellison, but bringing in Hemby and BB. And don't forget Black, who, although faded out of the running back rotation as the year went on, they still utilized him in certain situations because he's a big, strong kid, runs hard. And, he kind of is like Lawton in that regard. But Hemby, top-tier talent in the Big Ten, no question about it. Anxious to see what BB brings to the table. Here's a kid that hasn't played running back that much, was a wide receiver initially, moved to running back. He's he's probably like Justin was there. But offensively speaking, in those key positions, excluding the quarterback aspect of things, I do think it's the strength that Indiana has going forward in this season, without the question mark of wait and see how they hold up. But that, and then you switch it to the defense, Jim, and here's a side of the ball that lost some key components, CJ West, Carpenter, and they bring in that the Hosa Wheeler kid who was down, I believe, at Western Kentucky. He is a really good player. Ratcliffe, another kid that they brought in, is another good player. But don't forget, you got Kamara, who they moved now to the stud linebacker position, a position that he was recruited for, and at James Madison. What that gives them there is utilizing him in different aspects of their defensive front, either with his hand down to play a 4-man front or stand up outside linebacker type. So that will be an interesting dynamic for their defense, with taking their best player and being able to do some things in that scheme that Brian Haynes likes to run. Tucker is another one that I think is going to be, just as bona fide up there in the front. So I think in the positions that you need to have good, solid football players, O-line and D-line are those critical areas that doesn't get talked about much, because they're the guys that do all the dirty work. They only get recognized when things go bad, in terms of sacks or giving up big runs. I do think they've addressed what they lost and improved, in some respects, their talent level.
Without question, I believe that as well. And like I said, that's why I think they're going to be better. And it makes sense. It's the second season. You came in that first year. Hey, they plugged a lot of holes for a first year and did a lot of crazy things. They went to the college football playoffs, go 11-1. It's nuts. So the expectations are high for year two, as they should be. You should always have high expectations. If you don't, what the hell are you doing in anything in life? You got to have high expectations. The higher the expectations, the higher you will get. So, and that's fine. I think that it's going to be another fun football season, football practice going on right now, as a matter of fact. Unfortunately, I have not been able to get out there because of the timing on that. But the spring game comes up 1 week from today, as a matter of fact. We'll be out there for sure, looking to that, and probably do a little post-game wrap-up.
Absolutely.
A little something for the people.
Throw out a little crumbs here and there along the way. But yeah, week from tonight, they're down in Memorial Stadium. I'm hoping that, like I said, great weather. I hope they have a decent crowd that shows out, just because I think you get your first true peek at this group of players. And I think it's going to be, again, has the makings to be pretty darn good football team. And, we'll get to see the likes of Mendoza and how he's added, what he's added to the room, potentially taking over as the guy for Curtis Rourke. All things positive on that end. And then defensively, I just think this is going to be a strong unit from front to back end. I think their secondary is going to be dynamite. I really do, with Boykin and Gandy and Moore. And then don't forget about Mr. Pons out there as well on the corner. So I'm liking what I'm seeing in black and white. Let's just put it that way, in an optimistical fashion.
Well, I agree with that. There's no disagreement there. Robert says, after all the stuff that IU was handed after losing to Notre Dame last season, he's not so confident they get back to the college football playoffs unless they either play in the Big Ten championship game or go undefeated. Well, that's nuts. I disagree with that, because if they were given a lot of crap because they didn't beat a one ranked team, or one team that you would call of substance, I guess. Michigan is kind of an outlier. They beat Ohio State, but their record was suspect, and they were not the Michigan of Michigan. They weren't the defending champion Michigans like you would have expected. But if Indiana goes and takes care of business, you win the home games. That's was it 7 home games this season? So there's 7 home games. You win the games you're supposed to win. And then there are 3 road games that I keep talking about: Iowa, Oregon, and Penn State. You win one of those 3 road games, you're 10-2. You're 10-2 with the record that they would have beating and better Big Ten teams at home this year than they had last year. But to go on the road and beat one of those 3 teams is going to be a caveat as well. So,
and the biggest game on the schedule early on will be the biggest test is Illinois, because Illinois, similar to what IU's been in terms of lurking in the shadows, Brett Bielema's got a group of guys this year that are returning that is a pretty darn good ball club. So that will be a dynamite of a game early on in the season.
Oh, absolutely. And Illinois is a team that people just don't remember, especially IU fans probably. They just missed being a college football playoff team last year.
Yeah.
Iowa added a quarterback from South Dakota that can throw the ball. When Pete Nakos was on with me the other day, he's very familiar with football as well. He mentioned that. I keep talking about it because I know what it means. Iowa has not ever thrown. They're not a throwing team. But now they have a quarterback that can throw the ball. If they're able to marry those things, that will make Iowa a very, very dangerous team.
Yeah, because they've always been a top-tier defense in the Big Ten, yielding very little yardage, either through the air or the run. Tim Lester, who is the coordinator there, Timmy, was head coach at Western Michigan. Played at Western Michigan, broke a lot of passing records. he improved their passing game this past year with what they had there playing, I think, 2 or 3 quarterbacks. So adding that dynamic like they have with this kid from South Dakota is no different than Indiana adding a Curtis Rourke like last year, and putting a guy in a position that is experienced and, like you said, can throw it around a little. Now, the question mark will be, of course, he's coming from South Dakota. He's not, this is the Big Ten. Will he be able to handle, that step up in talent?
You know what?
Speed?
Every time I'm, and not of all people, you're one of the few people I would ever contradict. But now, after just with Indiana last season and so many other players across college athletics, I don't think that question is even a worthy question anymore.
Yeah, I agree.
If they're coming in, they're probably good enough because the team believes that they're good enough, and the coaching staff believes they're good enough, and we have seen these guys cross over. Hell, half of Indiana's team or better had that question mark on their back last year, and you ended up getting All-Americans out of that. Aiden Fisher, All-American. D'Angelo Pons, All-American. It's just,
talent gets
Kamara, Mikael Kamara.
Yeah, they get missed all the time talent-wise. So that's why you see some of these mid-major teams in the Mid-American Conference or whatever, they've got pretty good ball clubs because they were able to attract all those guys that maybe were a step slow, an inch short, that got passed by a Big Ten type of team, end up playing in the Mid-American Conference or in this case, JMU, and lighting it up and beating teams that were in that group of, that Power 5, Power 4 type of teams. So talent is talent. I'll say this. Tim Lester is a good observer of talent. If the kid at South Dakota had any question marks, I think Lester answered that he thinks he's talented enough to come in and be the leader at Iowa, similar to what the kid at Minnesota did last year from New Hampshire. So talent is talent. And I don't, like you said, I think that question about guys being able to elevate their play because they were down a level, now they're up a level, is not a overall valid question in today's game in that respect, because the talent that these kids have throughout the different tiers of the college football are all pretty darn good football players, irregardless of what level they're at.
No question, man. Looking forward to it. The weather's getting a little bit nicer, so hopefully it'll be a beautiful, beautiful spring game night next Thursday.
I agree.
Ahead of the Easter weekend. Man, looking forward to it. Congratulations, Shannon Griffith from On3, thehoosier.com with
Be on tonight.
Tailgate.
Be on tonight.
Inaugural show. Who's you got anybody on? What are you talking about?
Having Kyler Staley come on tonight from thehoosier.com as well. And we'll talk a little bit spring ball and some of this NIL house settlement things that are lingering in the background as we still are away from a complete rubber stamp to move forward. And I know that in the sporting world out there, especially commissioners and ADs are getting a little bit nervous in terms of the amount of times that this has gone back and forth in terms of this settlement agreement. So we'll talk a little bit about that, not just from a football perspective, just general sports perspective, because I know he does a great job with a lot of basketball coverage. So having him on from a different perspective a little bit on that, but we'll talk some ball. He's pretty good at talking some ball too. And, but jumping in with the family from there at thehoosier.com, and we'll have everything transferred into the website as well. And you'll find me, buddy. We'll see you tonight.
Looking forward to it, man. Appreciate you very much.
You too, partner. Have a good one.
Coach Griff joining us here on the program. Hey, man, this parade continues as we'll take a pause for the cause. Up next from bobkravitz.com, the king of BobKravitz.com himself, Bob Kravitz, back with more from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios right after these messages. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road rye, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Maria in Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Maria in Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com.
At Ben Davis Chevrolet and Ben Davis Ford in Auburn, we're your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. We have the area's best selection of over 300 vehicles, including new cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. And if we don't have what you're looking for, we'll find it for you. We also have top-of-the-line service and parts, plus a collision repair center, and we're competitively priced on everything. For sales, service, collision, parts, and more, we do it all. Come see us today or visit us online at BenDavisChevrolet.com and BenDavisFord.com.
Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Thursday, and that means a visit from your favorite and mine. It's like Santa Claus, the Jewish Santa Claus, right?
Oy vey, Izmir.
Hey, there you go. Oy vey.
What do you want, kid? What do you want, kid?
What's the spoon? What's the spoon? From do you know what that's from?
I have no idea.
It's at the very end of Coming to America when Eddie Murphy's playing like all those different characters.
Oh, that's right.
He plays an old white Jewish guy sitting there playing checkers or something.
Yeah.
Oh, it's that barbershop scene is still one of my favorites of all times.
Awesome.
Great stuff, man. Great stuff. Just like BobKravitz.com. Your latest piece, you picked up on something that someone else had talked about in regards to a coach injury and a player that dealing with injuries that people don't. It still happens, man. These head injuries are wicked.
You're talking about Braden?
Yeah.
Oh, it's not a head injury; it's mental health. I mean, he didn't. It's not like he had concussions or anything like that. These were just true mental health issues. He had severe OCD, something called religious scrupulosity, which I had never heard of in my entire life.
What is that?
Apparently, you become almost like so religious that you can't stop thinking about your place with God, and it's just over. It is OCD in that manner to the nth degree. To the nth degree, and it's related ordinarily with religious scrupulosity. It's related, obviously, to being scrupulous about your religious commitment. So I thought the Colts handled it beautifully. if you have a chance, the story was written by Joel A. Erickson in the Indianapolis Star. I guess it was about 2 or 3 days ago. It is a fantastic read, and it's a truly amazing story of the lengths that this guy went to get his head right.
Well, yeah, it's always stuff like that is just a battle, and it's a battle in and of itself. And then you have the outside battles of people not seeing, not understanding, not knowing. It all falls back to something I say all the time. You don't know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And that covers so many things, man. But
you don't know what people are going through.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
that's the bottom line. You don't know what kinds of issues they may have, and be sensitive and ask. It's really weird. It occurred to me the other day that I used to go in the locker room after games, and I'd always see Brady.
Bob, have you ever seen a grown man naked?
Oh gosh, I don't want to go there. So Braden would always sit by his locker, just motionless after games, and I thought, man, he must be exhausted and worn out, but he would just sit there like with this.
But he probably was from the cabeza.
Yeah, I'm sure that he was beating himself up and having all kinds of strange thoughts. It's a very serious issue, and I'm glad that the Colts, who have sunk millions and millions of dollars into the Kicking the Stigma campaign, I'm really glad they gave him the time and the space to get himself together.
Yeah, me too. That's great to see in this day and age. Man, there is so much going on. And really just right now, it's just there's so much happening in the sports world. First of all, you have the NBA that's kind of coming down to a close, playoffs close to starting, the college basketball portal actively going nuts. You've got spring football happening with the spring game 1 week away. The Masters, friends, is underway, and missed the deadline to enter our pool for Pete's Brothers pool every year that I've been in, and I blame I tried to bring in a ringer, Bob. I tried to get some help from the pro here at Eagle Point, Jeff Schroeder, and he let me down. I said, hey, you make the picks. You're able to watch this more closer than I am right now. And I forgot about it. And we missed the deadline. I'm like, dude, I won this thing like a couple years ago.
Did you really? Well, just get yourself a little bit of Scotty Scheffler, and you'll be all right.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, but the Masters always, what a way to kick off spring.
And it's beautiful. I've been there 3 or 4 times, and just enjoy the heck out of it. Just it's exhausting walking that course. You don't realize until you're there how hilly it is. It doesn't come across on TV, but the topography, man, it's up and down and up and down. You got to be a freaking mountain goat to walk the course, but it is an amazing place. Here's the funny thing about Augusta National is when you drive near the course, it looks like 56 in Shadeland. I mean, just strip malls and pawn shops and
I guarantee you that wasn't like that probably 30 years ago.
Right. Well, I'm just saying now.
Yeah.
It's just it's just a commercial ugly.
Dude, have
area.
you been to Churchill Downs?
I have not.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Okay.
No.
First of all, you owe yourself just because you have covered so many sporting events, and that is one of the premier sporting events in the world right down the road. But my point being, Churchill Downs, this is a race that began in the 1800s.
Right.
You can imagine in the 1800s where it was probably 5 miles south of downtown, seemed like a world away. Now it is surrounded by neighborhoods, blue collar neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Just surrounded.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing, it's the biggest time of the year for these people because they're parking people in the yards, baby, and making the cash for a week.
Well, it's a lot like the Indy 500, But I'm saying that you would think that this pristine, beautiful golf course would be in some gated community. Right. No, it's on 56 in Shadeland. There's a Hooters right down the road. Well,
that's where John Daly hangs out,
John
baby.
Daly used to hang out there. His van or his
what's he gonna do now? Oh my God! Now they declared bankruptcy. Are they closing?
No, they're gonna sustain it. So
the world will go on.
I go there for the wings.
I'm sure. I couldn't tell you the last time I was at a Hooters.
Me either. I haven't been forever.
So we got the Masters, Indiana basketball still slowly adding to their roster. Right. It's a process that I think people have gotten more accustomed to the process now. They're not. Yeah. At first, they were waiting for everything to pop at once, and that's not going to happen.
Somebody made a good point to me the other day, and I hope that it's accurate, but they were saying that the Dusty May didn't have any real players last year until around this date.
Yeah, and then they started happening.
Then it started happening. So, and I assume that's accurate. I don't know for sure, but yeah, I mean, everybody's on their own timeline. Let's, let him take his time and see if these guys are fits.
I like that. Brian says a closed Hooters. Now it's Looters.
Yeah, geez. It's a theme restaurant.
Yeah, it's definitely jumped the shark.
Yeah,
that worked its time, but it's gone. But yeah, what the hell was I just talking about?
No, you're talking about Indiana and the
oh yeah, filling those spots. Well, and when you mentioned Dusty, part of that's because all right, it kicks the tires on players. You're looking at players. You're trying to gauge the guys that you want to bring in for your system that fit what you want to do. And that just doesn't happen like that. Just because they're a great player, that happened. Just look back at what Mike Woodson did last year. He brought in players that he thought were good players, not that fit. What the hell did they fit? What kind of system did they fit? They couldn't fit into a shoe. I mean, they did not fit. There was nothing to fit because there wasn't a system.
Right.
That's the Darren DeVries has a system. He knows what he wants.
With Mike, it was like ordering from a Chinese restaurant. I'll have a number 2. I'll have a number 5. He was going
more like a Mexican and an Italian restaurant. He just kind of mixed everything in there together.
Yeah, he did. So it didn't work. So I'm more than happy to give Darren DeVries all the time he needs.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that that's going to work out fine.
I do too.
Fans just need to just chill, let him put his team together. And if he can do it at West Virginia, pretty confident he can do it at Indiana.
Hey,
these guys are not.
If he could do it at Drake.
Huh?
If he could do it at Drake had had 5 NCAA appearances until he showed up, and he got them there 6 times in a row.
Without question, they've got visits coming from guys. They're doing what they need to do.
Yeah,
that's not going to have a problem. They're going to put together, and it's going to be with a lot of names that people have never heard of. But I mentioned earlier in the week, there's a team, Florida, per se. How many guys on that team had people ever heard of before the tournament really got rolling?
Right. Even the Clayton kid.
How about the damn coach before, say, 2 years ago? The average fan had no idea who the hell Todd Golden was.
Right.
And never won until this season, never won an NCAA tournament game.
Yeah, exactly right. No, it's really weird watching a guy who's 37 years old win an NCAA tournament. It makes me feel freaking ancient.
Well,
I am.
Maybe you are ancient.
I am ancient.
I'm not saying you are, but I'm just saying consider the fact. But
it's a distinct possibility. Yeah.
Hey, we're 1 week away from the spring football game. Playoffs?
I thought you were talking NBA.
Playoffs?
Okay.
You're talking playoffs? Yeah, we are 1 week away from hitting the spring football game. See, now you got me in this mood where I just get into and I feel obliged.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me?
I can't. It's just one of the why are there no great quotes like that anymore? You got that. You've got Dennis Green.
No, we just the Bears are what we thought they were. They're what we thought they were. We played them in preseason. Who the hell takes a third game in the preseason like it's bull? We played them in the third game. Everybody played 3 quarters. The Bears are who we thought they were. And that's why we took the damn field. Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass. But they are who we thought they were. And we let them off the hook.
That's beautiful.
It made no sense. It made no sense. It still makes no sense. It's funny as hell. And why did all these great quotes, though, come from the same era? We're not even done.
If you want to go after an athlete, one of my athletes, you go after one that doesn't do the right things. You don't downgrade him because he does everything right and may not play as well on Saturday, and you let us make that decision. That's why I don't read the newspaper, because it's garbage, and the editor that let it come out is garbage. Attacking an amateur athlete for doing everything right. And then you want to write articles about guys that don't do things right and downgrade the ones that do make plays. Are you kidding me? Where are we at in society today? Come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40.
I'm a man. Come after me. Amateur athletes. There's no such thing anymore, bro.
No. I think that in the social media era, guys don't want to turn into memes. So, maybe that's why you don't hear quite as much of it, but you still get a smattering, from Danny Hurley.
Just a stickle.
A stickle, yeah.
Stickle. That's a Seinfeld joke. Bob Kravitz from BobKravitz.com. Make sure you're going there. Subscribe to the man. Covers all things in Indiana, even the Fever. That's coming up as well.
Yeah, it's coming up. And hey, the NBA playoffs start in about a week and a half. And I think your Indiana Pacers are going to make another run.
We get to talk about that next week. I can't wait because they keep winning. And they're
13 out of 16
the right way. It's a pretty good way to end the season, brother.
Yes, sir.
Bob Kravitz, enjoy your weekend.
All right, buddy. You too. Play some golf.
Appreciate you. I'll be working, but appreciate you so much. There is the man from BobKravitz.com. Make sure you go support him. He's a great one. We appreciate him. We've got lots more coming up, including the great Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News, Fox, and Big Ten Networks. Back with that and more right after this break. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular Toasted Coconut Rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemoreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Thursday. Jim Coyle with you as always, and I thank you. Now joined by our good friend Mike DeCourcy, who's just returning from San Antonio, as they used to call it on the old Westerns. Who was it they used to call it? God, I'm down there in San Antonio. How was the Final Four for you? Because it was, as I expected it to be, spectacular.
Oh, the games were phenomenal. No complaints at all about that, Jim. It was the games from the first game to the last were tremendous. We didn't have the greatest weather. We went from like 90 degrees and no sun and ultra humid the first days, which was the worst day to have it that hot because there was no media shuttle that stopped to get your credentials. So you had to walk to the credential center and then walk to the dome. And it wasn't that far, but it was like an oven, Jim. So that was the first day. And then on the third day, the fourth day, whatever, Sunday, there was a great free concert with Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats as it started early in the day when we were still working, but Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats and then Chris Stapleton. And it was phenomenal, but it was like 8 degrees. It was freezing out there. Chris Stapleton thanked us at least 4 times for hanging in there while it was so cold. And then he sang the song Cold, which isn't really about weather, but it's still one of his best. So it wasn't the best weather, but it can't complain about the games.
No, and as a matter of fact, I kind of screwed that deal up. I should have had K-Bro's joining us today, and I think he's going to be in the last segment. I would have loved to have had him on in the next segment, and we could have had you on in the next segment and both talked about it. I may have to see if I can make that happen here while we're doing this. But the NCAA tournament, it's the Final Four is usually always good.
Not last year. You'll remember.
Well, that's usually.
Boilers
I said
out
usually.
One team, UConn blows out the other. UConn kind of blows out Boilers. Wasn't that great?
The year before last, you had FAU getting beat on a last-second shot. I don't remember what happened to.
And UConn blew out 2 more teams.
They did blow them out. Well,
when they got there.
And during that, with the exception of UConn was blowing everybody out,
right,
for the most part. So, and not to switch subjects, but how about Danny Hurley? Is he pulling an old Bob Knight, saying, "Oh, maybe talking to the Nuggets," like when Bob Knight was going to talk to New Mexico because he was getting grief from the president, and it was just kind of a little shot over the bow. But I don't think Danny Hurley could coach in the NBA. I don't think his personality, not because he doesn't have the knowledge or the intelligence.
Right.
I don't think his personality is going to work. And it's not because he's a whack job so much, because it's his exuberance that NBA guys are like, dude, chill. This is a business. This is our jobs.
Yeah, I think that that Dan Hurley is, first of all, people don't know what a great guy he is. He's really one of the better people in coaching. Really a wonderful person to be around, raised a great family, has a great marriage, wonderful to deal with day to day. And if you saw the 60 Minutes piece, you probably got at least a taste of that, that he's really a normal guy. But when he gets next to that rectangle, Jim, it's not like other coaches. I'm not like, I mean, the average coach, and I don't mean the average coach in ability, but I mean the average coach in terms of temperament. It's just different. And I don't think it's healthy, to be frank. I think he needs to find more of a balance when he gets next to that rectangle. He's been able to win at a really high level. And part of it was that for a while, especially during the 23 season, he turned it down a little bit. And then as he got closer to the second one, it started to amp up again. And then when they go to Maui for 25, he really starts to struggle with it again because the team's not as good. And so I do think he needs to figure out a way to be more calm and relaxed in the proximity of that rectangle. Now, maybe playing 80 games a year forces that on you. I don't know. But if he stays that way for 80 games a year, it would be really unhealthy. I don't know that he could do a long series of those kinds of seasons. So maybe it would be the best thing for him, or maybe it would be the worst thing for him. I think the actual best thing for him is to find a way through whatever means of being more under control when he's in the proximity of that rectangle. I know I'm repeating that a lot, but that's what the problem is. And look, there have been other coaches who have figured out ways through this. And there are other coaches who don't have reputations for this, who, when they were properly aggravated, could be vicious. That didn't have any reputation at all for that. John Wooden, like I remember, like I was doing a piece about him that appeared in advance of the Final Four, because this is the 50th this year, and last month is the 50th anniversary of his final game as coach at UCLA. And in my mind's eye, from 50 years ago, he sat stoically through every possession of every game. And then I rewatched the 75 championship game against Kentucky. And there were 3 or 4 times when he was up off the thing, yelling at the refs, really getting animated. He could bring it too. Even guys who are known for being stoic could really bring it. So it's not about yelling at the referees from time to time. It's about going over the line in the way that Dan periodically has.
Well, he is the best college coach in all of college basketball.
Well, he was over 23 and 24, wasn't he?
Yes.
But it helps to have the great players, Jim.
And I asked, the last guy that did that, because Duke didn't do it after Florida. They did it before Florida, right?
To go back to back?
Back
it
to
was
back, yeah.
Duke in 91, 92, Florida 06, 07, and then
so the last guy to do it was there at Florida, and he left for the NBA thereafter. Now, different coaches, different personalities, different types of coaches, and so
he also didn't leave. He also didn't leave for like 8 years.
Oh, he was never that much longer? Okay.
Because they 06, 07, they win it. He actually accepted the Orlando Magic job. Now, I can't remember whether it was 06 or 07, but maybe it was after the second. He accepted the Orlando Magic job and then reversed course in 2 days and went back to Florida, and then coached long enough to appear in the 2014 Final Four. And I can't remember if he left exactly after that or another season or two. I can't remember the exact timing now, but he did coach at least another 7 seasons.
Yeah, and I didn't. That's too much for me. That's why I have the great people like you on. I cannot remember all that stuff. And looking forward. I was able to make the deal happen. Gabriel will be on in a little bit, so we'll be able to combine you to veterans of the Final Four this year. And you're talking about the Heat earlier. Hey, man, I've got no sympathy for you. the games were indoors, and you had access to Whataburger every day. So
where was the Whataburger? I didn't.
Whataburgers everywhere in San Antonio. They're all over Texas, man. All over.
I did not
Texas,
see one in
Oklahoma.
downtown San Antonio. I did not see one at all, so I missed that.
When I get K-Bro on, he'll straighten you out about Whataburger.
I found the Chipotle, so I went there.
It's okay. We had the national finals here last week. That stuff is no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, San Antonio, the first time I went there, I've only been there once, and it was just a stopover. I was stunned, and this was a long time ago, though, but how clean that city was. Now, that was a long time ago, and Portland used to be a beautiful city, and the last time I was there, I was like, what the hell's happened here? Did a bomb go off? But so things change. But San Antonio, man, kind of becoming a home to big-time basketball events.
Oh, yeah. I think the Final Four there it works really well. I still maintain, Jim, and I will till the end, that that the Final Four should be in Indianapolis every year, every single year.
It's back next year, baby.
It'll be back next year and then again in 29, and that's the best place for it. It always will be the best place for it. If people want to bring in New Orleans, why? I don't know. San Antonio was nice, and it was fine, but the difference between Indianapolis and every other place is, first of all, everything
just to Chicago, which is a comparative deal, but boy, are they worlds apart.
Well, I mean, Chicago doesn't have a dome, so it's not really in the conversation.
I get you. I was just thinking of like I was comparing. I should have, but I was comparing, say, Gamebridge to the United Center.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the Final Four versus New Orleans, Atlanta, San Antonio, all fine places. But New Orleans has the fact that you can walk everywhere once you're there. You'd never have to get in an Uber or car or anything unless you want to take a trip up to Mass Ave, which is, of course, worth it for certain places. You don't have to do any of that if you don't want to. And it's a basketball town, Jim. I remember I had to cover the regional in San Antonio. I think it was 08. It was right around 06, 08, somewhere in there. And I covered the regional down there. And I could not, and this was before TNT was involved and all of that. And I could not find a single bar in downtown San Antonio that had access to all the games. Like you couldn't watch, like during the regional, like you could watch the one game that was on CBS or whatever. No one bothered to buy the package because they don't care. They didn't care. So I had to go back to my hotel and watch one game on my laptop and the other game on my TV. That's how I played it that year. It was right around 06, 07, 08. India, I would never have that problem. There'd be 72 places downtown. Now it's different now because
you could barely walk out of. Now Lucas Oil is kind of over a little bit, not by itself, but a little more space around it because it has parking and that's a football stadium. Right. But it's still, even with that, it is. I have not been to obviously every other NFL stadium, but I can't imagine many having the proximity to life, to downtown that does. And then when you're talking about Gamebridge, oh my God, you walk out and walk next door. You don't even have to leave. Well, the walkway goes over to the parking garage, but it's literally across the street.
Yes.
You walk maybe 50 yards and it's just hitting a stretch. K-Bro knows, Mr. Microphone. Speaking of, we're going to take a quick break and we'll bring K-Bro on and we'll have two Final Four veterans from this year up there. And of course, K-Bro down covering the Florida Gators, who added a third, and he brought up a question that we'll talk about blue blood status. And I'm like, well, that's funny because I brought that up to Todd Leary last week, and he gave it a quick no. And I'll tell you why, but not disputing their greatness because they've definitely done that. Appreciate everybody being with us. We've got the great Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News, Big Ten and Fox Networks. K-Bro set to join us on the backside from the Hard Truth Distilling Company's studios right after this break. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Marie in Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Marie Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Thursday. And of course, as promised, a visit by our good friend K-Bro. And glad to have you along, sir. Trying to get back out of that because we've seen about all of that we can stand. But welcome back, Mike DeCourcy. I didn't make that. We've had that for a while. So, but I love it. That's our affinity for K-Bro, Mike.
I know. We have affinity. You know what I mean? If you had affinity for me, you wouldn't show that graphic. By the way, obviously it was great being with Mike and all the other writers and at the Final Four. And I will say that reading Mike's coverage, while terrific, made me a little depressed because it realized how far I still have to go to be to be in his category as far as a writer. But no, it was a lot of fun and very fortunate that I covered another national championship season. Maybe I'm the good luck charm because I came back to Florida and they got it done again.
I think it's clear they could not have done it without you. I think
I agree.
That's obvious.
So were you there back in 06 and 07?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Those were a couple of the first teams that I covered. I started.
And I asked you, you didn't respond to my text. Did you give Todd your ring size?
No. That's fine. Oh. But it's interesting because people have talked about newspapers being irrelevant, and I have gotten more texts, more emails, more phone calls. How can I get the commemorative edition, including from certain SIDs who deride me during the season? So it's kind of everyone. You become a very popular guy this time of year when you have a championship edition out. This time of year. So, hey,
are you popular with the Chicago Police Department?
Maybe there's hope, but no, an amazing ride. I think Mike and I agree in terms of the guard play and the depth. It was a complete team all year long. And there were times when it looked bleak, Jim. I mean, the Texas Tech game,
Hey, I don't know how Houston lost that game. I've said it. I'm like, man, They turned that into a Houston game early. They mucked it up. It was defense. After the first 10 minutes of the game, Florida was on par to score 40 points for the game. You knew that wasn't going to happen, but you kept wondering because it went into the half and but I guess the adjustments, great teams, great coaches make the adjustments at halftime.
They do. But what it ends up happening, Jim, is, and I can't make this point enough, and I think it needs to be made more, frankly, because I've read some other things where it wasn't acknowledged, even in some really terrific pieces. Talent, you can't win it without the talent. No one does. We've got 4 decades of history at minimum, depending on how you want to cut the apple. We have back to 1988. Every single champion has NBA first rounders. Every single one. No exceptions. No, we had enough really good college players and great coaching and tough. I stood next to Kelvin Sampson 2 feet away from him on Monday night when he said this team was built to win the championship. And I was grateful that he said that, because then I had the ending to my column, because it had everything that you would want in a team, Jim. They were together. They loved each other. They played for each other. They played for their coach. They had a brilliant coach. They had everything. But in the end, you win all the games except maybe the last 1 or 2 with all of those qualities. But without the talent, without the NBA talent, it just doesn't happen. When it happens, great. We'll all stand and applaud. But we may be waiting another 40 years for that. My stat going back to 88 is compelling. But my friend David Glenn, who covers the ACC for an organization down there, you can find him.
That must be an easy job this last year.
Yes. David pointed out that since the draft was instituted, that was all the way back in the 1960s, there has not been a team that won the national championship without a top 30 pick. So mine's first rounders, his is top 30. That loops in Steve Alford and the 87 Indiana team and keeps going all the way back to the 60s. It's just, you have to have those guys. It's not negotiable. It hasn't been negotiable basically for all of modern college basketball history. So why do we keep dancing around the truth?
So do we think Walter Clayton's a first-round pick? I
don't think there's any question at this point that he will be.
That he's
it's just a question of how high he brought himself. And then if Thomas Houck makes the mistake of going into this year's draft, he may not be. But if he stays, I think he will be.
Yeah, I think he's sticking around, Mike, and he and Condon both said that today. I do think too that to your point, when it was 42-20. It was still early enough where I thought Houston didn't have the firepower to kind of put it away. And I thought, Florida could get it under 10 in the final 10 minutes, that they would have a shot. And they didn't. They went on that run and they got it down to 3. So once they got it down there, you kind of had a feeling it was anyone's ball game in the last 10 minutes, Jim. And, college basketball is a game of runs, and Florida stiffened up on defense. They kind of, what I wrote, Jim, is they kind of out Houston in terms of how physical they played, the defensive stops they made down the stretch. And it's kind of ironic that this team that was, known all season for its offense and last year was really lacking defensively, won the national championship on a defensive play.
Yeah, great point. Let me follow up on what K-Bro said about the defense. Okay. The turnovers, everybody keeps pointing to the number of turnovers Houston committed in the end. But the next to last one, I believe was in sequence, it was the next to last one, the one that Emmanuel Sharp committed when Florida executes a switch on a ball screen and leaves him driving against Condon. First of all, not the best situation for him. And he ignores an opportunity when Condon's not yet closed to do a pull-up because he wants to get deeper. And by continuing to advance the ball, you have Will Richard reach in from the outside and slap the ball off his leg. So it was a caused turnover. It wasn't an unforced turnover. And, of course, the long to be famous, whatever you call that, I guess in the end it was just a thrown away ball in that sense, because it did not become a double dribble because Sharp refused to touch it, but it was all caused by Walter Clayton's brilliant closeout, and that was a phenomenal defensive play. Yep. It was so sudden and so amazing that we were all sitting there. I was sitting next to various different college basketball writers who cover this sport year round, and none of us could figure out who closed because it happened so fast. And to be frank, I think probably not many of us thought it would be Walter. That's how great a play it was.
Yeah, and I met when Bob Kravitz was on with us earlier. He had a thing out the other day, and it talked about Kelvin Sampson, and I wanted to talk about that because there's so many people in the IU fan base that still just carry this. I call it hatred. I mean, it actually amazes me because first of all, I'm like, hey, people, you should be PO'd at President Herbert. He's the guy who forced the issue. If you're going to be angry at somebody, that's where it should be. And then, yes, I understand he broke rules. Not going to defend that. But what my point would be is going 90 and a 70, that's going to get you in trouble. But it ain't bank robbery. And I can list a freaking bunch of schools real quick that were committing bank robbery, that were paying players, that were with the help of Nike and Adidas, were buying players when it was absolutely against the rules and giving them the most gigantic advantage, which allowed them to remain at the status that they held. That is my beef with people who are so angry at Kelvin Sampson. I'm like, get over that, man. It was a speeding ticket is what he got. Yeah, it's against the law, but so is speeding. So put it in the right category. Compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges. That's my beef. I mean, I get over it, but I know there's another side to it.
Well, Jim, I tend to agree with you. Under the circumstances, 6 years removed from the dismissal of Bob Knight, with the open case against Oklahoma that was only a final resolution away at that point. It had already gone all the way through. They were rounding third and heading for home in the infractions process. So it was out there, and it wasn't any secret. And Indiana hires him anyway. So if you're going to do the anyway, then if something similar happens, then you got to eat it. You got to deal with it. You got to process it. You can't have. So what they did basically was they had their cake and they threw it in the garbage, is essentially the metaphor that I would use. They chose that particular cake. And then when it turned out that it was indeed that flavor, they threw it in the garbage. You have to do one or the other. You either can't hire him, or if you hire him, you have to deal with the repercussions that come from those relatively minor infractions, whatever those repercussions would be. I think you saw a decade later, schools that were in that circumstances fought. They fought. And most of the ones that fought, they ended up not necessarily prevailing, but surviving. I think that's the difference. And so I'm in your camp. I don't think that they should have hired him under the circumstances, given the likely backlash, if anything like it happened. But once they did, they should have said, okay, Kelvin, you should have done this. We're going to have to do something, but he should not have been fired under those circumstances, given the relative insignificance of the alleged violations in 2000 and basically in the 2008 year, 2007, 2008.
And there was more to it than the phone calls, etc. But that's what he got in trouble for. Yeah, right. There was some questionable players on there doing questionable things. I get that. But that is not what he got in trouble for. And the NCAA changed the rule the next year. They didn't lose a battle in court like they did, and why they changed the ability to pay players. They changed that because they didn't have a choice. They lost in court. They changed the rule that Kelvin Sampson got in trouble for. They changed it themselves the next year because it was so stupid. So that's my beef. It's just like, dude, pick your battles and know the battle there. So, but in the end, it doesn't matter. He shouldn't have been hired, even though he was the best coach Indiana's hired since Bob Knight. Still shouldn't have been hired. That is when, as much people have beefed Kevin about, they wanted Chris Beard. So there were so many people that wanted Chris Beard on this Indiana hire, but I knew that was not going to happen under any circumstances, right or wrong, just wasn't going to happen. So I accepted it from that standpoint that I don't have time to deal with the minutia because it doesn't matter. It's just not going to happen. I'm not going to fight that battle.
Yeah. What does Santana say? Those that ignore history are doomed to repeat it. So you got to be careful there. But
he was denied. Kelvin Sampson denied the national championship, and boy, did it look like it. But how about Todd Golden? Talked about him. He's a guy that nobody had really ever heard of a couple of years ago. He of the people that like to compare Indiana fans. But just getting a player. He didn't do jack last year. I'm like, dude, you cannot compare a different situation, a different program, a different that. It's things change. Things get better. Todd Golden is not the coach he was at San Francisco. He's better. He's wiser. He gets smarter. He got better. He hadn't won an NCAA tournament game in his first 2 years at Florida. Then he wins a national championship. Boy, can you imagine Indiana fans may have gone off the rails if Darren DeVries does not win an NCAA game in his first 2 years. I can imagine. Can you imagine? That's why you've got to relax, let things play out, man.
Yeah, I think once Todd started getting his players into the system, that's when it really took off. Because his first year, they could have gotten, Janai Broom his first year, or they had him visit. But, he already had Colin Castleton, and I think Broom probably took a better NIL offer to Auburn. But after that, when he started getting players that fit his system, he's a very, analytical mind. He had a very good staff. As a matter of fact, he's losing a couple of coaches, Kevin Hovde to Columbia and John Anderchek to Campbell, that were kind of his top offensive and defensive guys. It'll be very interesting to see how he replaces them. But very smart, very analytical staff, built it methodically, got transfers, but created a core at the same time. Will Richard was a 3-year transfer. Walter Clayton Jr. was a 2-year transfer. And then, last year, Riley Kugel was kind of a cancer, very talented kid, but, something was missing there in terms of how he connected with his teammates. So they go out and they get a guy from Elijah Martin from FAU that has Final Four experience. And that was kind of that final piece of the puzzle. The big guys, the young big guys, Thomas Houck and Alex Condon, a couple of 2-3 stars from nowhere. I think Alex Condon's 2 offers were Utah and St. Mary's. But they stuck with them. They developed them. They saw something in them. Todd's recruited very well internationally with Condon from Australia, Urban Klavchar, kind of a promising guard from Slovenia, who you're probably going to hear from in the next 2 years. So it's been a really good building job. The pieces have fit. And I think he's a smart coach, and he's got a lot of smart coaches around him. And I think, you saw that in the adjustments they made in the second half. It's all added up to this incredible run to a national championship. But, a lot like the 06 team, too, that kind of, came together at the right time. Maybe that team wasn't as dominant in the regular season. They were a 3 seed, but coming into the season kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, Florida was ranked 21st going into the season. I thought maybe they'd be a Sweet 16, Elite 8 team in the beginning of the season, but I did not see this coming. But it's just an amazing testament to the players and how hard they worked and the chemistry that they built.
Well, you talked a lot last year when Florida was in Indianapolis at the NCAA tournament. You talked about that they had the goods, that you thought that they were putting it together. I remember that conversation we had.
Yeah, they showed some promise last year, but where they were lacking was on the defensive end of the floor. I mean, if you looked at the KenPom numbers, they were 89-90. They couldn't get stopped. So they addressed that in the portal by getting Elijah Martin, who is a rugged kind of perimeter defender. I think Will Richard and Walter Clayton also got better defensively. And then Ruben Chinyelu, who's 6'10 with a 7'6 wingspan, altered some things at the rim. So they became a much better defensive team this year through personnel and through approach. They gave John Anderchak a little more responsibility there. And that was a difference this year. They were a more complete team on both ends of the floor. They were, I think, second KenPom in offense, 9th KenPom in defense. So that's where they made the biggest jump from last year to this year.
Yeah, Mike. So now we're looking forward to next year already. I have already seen multiple 2026 way too early, ridiculous, stupid, ignorant top 25s. I don't mean to be negative. I'm just
it's okay. It's okay
because they are stupid. Because none of these teams have complete rosters. They have a lot of them have cores. Like Purdue is probably not going to change much, but there's no way. Even the ones that have you don't know what they're going to be like. Go back and look at who was number 1 in the preseason in college basketball.
Kansas.
Oh yeah, that was Kansas. How did that work out? Go back and look at.
Well, see, here's the problem, Jim. Here's the problem. Because you're confusing the AP poll with people who actually write about college basketball year round. That's the difference. No, I mean,
good point. Good point.
Here's the oddity about these way too early top 25s. First of all, as much as you rail against them, and I don't blame you for any of it, people read them. That's why
I know.
That's why everybody does them, including the sporting news. But the real oddity of it is, like, when I went to do mine, and I began mine, I think Friday, I started fiddling with it. And I did a Google search just to see if anybody had done theirs yet. And no one had. So I did mine blind. And it's amazing.
Who'd you have number 1?
What's that?
Who's number 1?
I was going to put Houston number 1 when I initially did it. And then they got in because I thought they were going to lose to Duke, and I wasn't going to pick anybody to repeat. So I think I ended up putting Duke number 1 because they lost that game. If Houston had won it, they would have been number 1. But
most I've seen have the familiar teams in the top 10.
But it's interesting. What I was going to say is so interesting is that all of these different people who have them, there's some similarity to them, even though we're not copying off each other's papers.
Right.
Because we're all basically submitting them at the same time and publishing at the same time. So we can't, I didn't have any conversations with anybody saying, hey, who you got number 10? I didn't have anything like that. I just went through and tried to do it myself. And there were a few things that I had differently. Like Louisville was way higher in everybody else's than mine. But I had them in the top 20. But most of them were kind of similar. So there is some validity to it. It's crazy.
Know who the Athletic has as number 1?
Did I see?
No. Yeah. Do you?
I don't
Purdue.
know.
They have Purdue at number 1. Okay, bro.
See, that goes right back to what I've talked about when we were opening this. Okay, who's Purdue's first rounder?
Yeah.
When Kansas was the AP. When Kansas was the AP preseason top 25 number 1, I laughed because I knew they didn't have anybody like that.
Yeah.
I was 100% sure that they didn't have one of those guys. With Florida, I'll be honest with you, I only came around to it in the last few weeks of the season because I started to see what Walter was capable of doing, and I got to the point where I kept saying, how can you not? And that's what after seeing him down the stretch of the regular season, and then I'd already made my picks for the Final Four, and I thought that Duke and Florida had the best chance of winning it because they had those guys and they had great teams. But when I saw Walter in person in Raleigh, and I know it was against the 16 seed, but you can evaluate. And I saw him, and I'm like, this just doesn't make any sense. There's all this mock draft stuff that doesn't have him in. It doesn't make any sense. He's too good for somebody not to take him.
Yeah. Hey, K-Bro, is he the only first rounder you think off of Florida?
Well, I think to Mike's point, I think Hauk and maybe Condon can develop into first rounders over time. But I think currently he's the only first rounder. But, I think Elijah and Will Richard could possibly go in the second round as well. I mean,
I asked that because if you go back and look, at least the last 6 years, there have been multiple NBA draft picks on the champions. UConn has, oh my God, they over the course
some of those were second, Jim. They weren't all first.
No. I'm not saying they were all first, but they had multiple firsts too, though. And it wasn't necessarily in the same season. It could have been the following season, but they were on the team that did the deed.
Well, I covered, the 06-07 team was the ultimate because Noah, Brewer, and Horford were all lottery picks in across that front line. Oh, and by the way, Al Horford is still playing in the NBA almost 20 years later. I saw him at courtside. It's amazing. The guy's a machine. How he keeps, Corey Brewer, I think, is an assistant coach with the Pelicans or like a staff member there. And I don't know what Joakim Noah is doing. Probably he's probably somewhere in the south of France having a bottle of wine or something.
I was going to say the answer to that question probably, K-Bro, is whatever he wants.
Yeah, exactly. He's living the life and stuff. So Jim, hey, let's get to this blue blood point because you're on.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
We're in a blue blood market, right? Indiana. I would say that Indiana and Florida right now are polar opposites, right? I would say that Indiana
they are at the moment. There's no dispute.
In terms of the blue blood argument, I would argue that Florida is a blue blood in merit, but not in fan passion, whereas Indiana is a blue blood in fan passion, but not in merit. Currently. But yes, on the fan passion is not even a discussion, so we're not even going to go there. The merit, I hate to fight against somebody who has 3 national championships, but those 2 came like a bolt out of the blue. No tradition really before that. You go way back, and not much in between. Well, we had Norm Sloan and Vernon Maxwell and Lon
I'm just saying. So
Mike Miller almost won a championship in 2000. That group with Teddy Dupay and.
To me, to be a blue blood, you got to do it over a long standard of time.
How long though, Jim? How long?
UConn has sustained. They are the shortest, the newest member of that club, in my opinion. But my God, they've done more than anybody. They keep succeeding. They just
UConn had a dip in the Kevin Ollie era a little bit.
But they did it. They've won. How many is it? 5 or is it 6 now?
6.
Okay, and what? 3 different coaches?
3 different coaches.
Okay, I don't think anybody in college basketball has that. Indiana has.
Kentucky does.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I apologize. But a blue blood.
Kentucky has 4 different.
Of course.
Yeah.
But they fill in the 3, yeah. But that's a stature there. And I just there's no doubting the greatness and the greatness of the achievement. But
yes. Well, listen, Billy Donovan
but Todd Golden, if he continues this, then that's going to be harder to ignore that argument.
Billy Donovan was just inducted in the Hall of Fame over the weekend, Jim. He has 467 SEC wins. The only other SEC coach that has more is Adolph Rupp.
Well, so the SEC was not what it is today.
SEC wins in the ledger for Florida during that span. I mean, that was a pretty good run from 96 to 2015.
Yeah, but the SEC was like the ACC was last year back then.
They made the NCAA tournament 15 and 19 times. The SEC was as terrible as you think. I mean, the year that Florida went in 06, you had LSU in there. That was that big Dave Davis. In 2014, they had Kentucky, the Julius Randle team. I mean, there were some good SEC teams during that run. It wasn't completely terrible. Maybe a little top-heavy, but you had other teams there that challenged Florida.
Oh, I would say it was better than the ACC was last year.
Oh, definitely.
Because the ACC was absolutely horrible.
Mike, for me, what I told Kevin he interviewed me for the article yesterday, and what I told him was that I think the difference, and I don't know whether this is a hurdle that can be cleared, is that at the real, no doubt, blue bloods, the ones that we talk about, Carolina, Kansas, Duke, UCLA, that basketball is where it begins and ends. Kentucky, and that I don't see that ever being the case at Florida. And maybe you can, but that's the element
Football
of it for
school.
me. Yeah, that's the element of it for me. And the one thing that Kevin didn't put in his article, that because everybody runs out of space sooner or later, is that I think that there is a value to being the coach at Texas or Ohio State or Florida, because you don't get picked apart, especially in this era, for your recruiting, for your scheduling, for how you run your offense and defense, all of which every coach at those true blue bloods has to cope with. Right now, I'm telling you, at Duke, they're going to be talking about inbounds plays from now until the first ball goes in the air. They're going to talk about inbounds plays, and I get it. I think if the same thing had happened to Florida on Monday night, I don't know that would be true. No. I think they'd be talking about the quarterback situation.
They'd be talking about DJ Lightweigh's shoulder. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think that's the F word, as I pointed out in the story. It still lingers over them. And it's kind of like, are they going to care in a game in November when they play Mercer? You know what I mean? Are they going to still pack the building? That's always been the issue, I think, at Florida. You know, they do a pretty good job on the SEC games. But, I pointed out in the article about even after Donovan won the championships in 06 and 07, the next year they held Midnight Madness, only the lower bowl was filled, and Billy had to cancel it because it was a bad look for recruiting, and that those kind of things don't happen at blue blood schools. But maybe it will turn, maybe they had a very good turnout in San Antonio. I thought the fans were pretty good there, definitely, all things considered. And, but will they pack the arena in the November game on Tuesday night when they're playing, the North Florida Ospreys? That's what, then you could start to say, hey, maybe we have something here as far as being a blue blood school.
Hey, don't be cracking all the Ospreys. That's a great bird.
North Florida Ospreys are coached by a Pittsburgh guy, so just saying.
How about that?
See, I told you. Look at you.
It all comes around to Pittsburgh in the end.
Always, baby. Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News, Fox Big Ten Networks. What's up next for you?
Sleep, Jim. Sleep is huge. No matter what John Rothstein says, I am sleeping in April.
Well, yes, I wish I could join you, not literally, but doing the same thing. That doesn't. We're 24/7, 365 here, baby. But appreciate it. I hope you enjoy it. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.
Next Tuesday, we'll talk to you then.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Kay.
Okay, bro. What is up next for you, my friend?
The spring football game on Saturday. But, and
this Saturday?
Yeah, this Saturday. And then they'll have the championship celebration, which will be nice. It's, and we'll listen, there'll be a lot of transfer portal stories for basketball too. Apparently they're in on this kid, Xavier Lee, who's, the best point guard out there in the transfer portal. Tommy Houck has a connection with him. They played at the same school. So there's a feeling that, especially with Walter Clayton leaving, that there's an opportunity to jump in, get some playing time and be a part of, what looks to be a program that's definitely, right now at the top of the mountain and can be on the rise. I think you have to strike while the iron is hot here. You're the national champions in terms of attracting players, and you can say, hey, look, you can come and be a part of a winning program and have fun and win championships.
Sounds great, brother. I'm gonna work on a deal to try to get K-Bro during the offseason to join us once a week. I have to send him out to a very nice dinner. What's the nicest restaurant there in Gainesboro? Yeah.
We could go to Embers or Mark's US Prime or what have you, but we'll work on that. But it was very nice. Also, by the way, one of your other guests, Zach Osterman, was named USBWA Basketball Beat Writer of the Year. And I was there.
Oh, wow.
So
I didn't see that. That's awesome. I can't wait till Zach's on with us tomorrow.
Very good for Zach. You can pass along your congratulations to him. I was there. It was a very nice dinner. Very well done. They did a nice tribute. They inducted the late Bob Holt to the USBWA Hall of Fame. John Clay from the Lexington Herald Leader.
Yeah.
I'm sure some of your guys, great writer, good friend. That was really nice. It was a nice experience, and got to go to get some barbecue at Pinkerton's, which was a good little spot in San Antonio. Beautiful city. I thought it was a really nice city. And I thought, everything compact. The media hotel was right there. Alamo Dome was a good venue. And it was obviously Florida bringing home a national championship. It's kind of crazy to think that they did it again. But it is testament to Todd and his staff and the players. And Walter Clayton Jr. is he's never going to have to buy a drink in Gainesville again, I can tell you.
Yeah, there you go. And neither will K-Bro. Appreciate you, my friend. As always, look forward to doing it again. It's always a blast.
Yes, yeah, fun to catch up. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you, sir. K-Bro on with us. And up next, Chris Denari. The Pacers keep winning, baby. And you heard Bob Kravitz earlier. He's expecting a run. He's feeling good about him. We'll talk to the man who calls their games every night. Right on the other side of this last break, back with more from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios right after these messages. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum, Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemoreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Thursday. It was a packed Thursday, man. Chris, I'm glad to finally get you in here. Sorry, and thank you so much for being adjustable for us today. It's been a crazy week. Yesterday, I had a computer malfunction, spent the entire day tearing the studio down, took all the good computer stuff out, took it to a different, not a different location, but a different room, was bringing in the old stuff, but started checking the other stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's not that. I have a like big 49-inch curved screen monitor that we use. And they realized, oh, it's not the monitor, because everything had squeezed into about 6 inches across the entire, couldn't read, I was guessing at stuff, and then I couldn't hear and had to end the show right after I started it. And I'm like, oh my God. But then after doing all that,
it worked.
Everything worked. And what was wrong?
You know, that it's the great thing that we have, Jim. Technology is wonderful, but there's sometimes that technology wins, but it doesn't win. I have found, especially we have DirecTV Stream, which I really like. Oh, there must be somebody in the driveway. And oftentimes it's just unplug it and plug it back in and it works.
Yeah, I tried that, so I was hopeful. But at the end of the day, we got it back around. Everything came back, and so that's all that matters. I hate missing, but boy, it ended up with a loaded show today. We've got more tomorrow. But I did happen to catch at the end of the Pacers game, and I'm like, what the hell are they doing? I'm looking, I'm like, this is Washington. I said, I know it's into the season. You guys are resting a little bit, but and then they did enough to win the game. Yeah. It was like, okay, we just flexed enough just to not lose the stupid game. But
you just didn't want to lose that. I mean, at this point of year, you need to win, and they were coming off a great win Sunday night. I mean, went to Denver, no Pascal Siakam. Ultimately, I guess that got Michael Malone fired. we talked about it. The Pacers have had 2 coaches lose their jobs after they won. Mike Brown earlier in Sacramento and Michael Malone yesterday or 2 days ago loses his job with a 4-game losing streak. But fact of the matter is, Pacers' magic number is 1 to clinch the 4th seed, home court advantage in the first round. They've got that game tonight against Cleveland. It's a game that we won't do on FanDuel Sports Network. It's a TNT only game. So Kevin Harlan and Reggie Miller are on the call at Gainbridge Fieldhouse tonight. And then, in fact, I was just working ahead on tomorrow's game. It's a home back-to-back. It'll be the Pacers and Orlando in the final home game of the regular season tomorrow. Always a lot of fun, fan appreciation night. And if the Pacers could win tonight, Jim, they have a chance tomorrow night to get their 50th win. And there's only been a handful of Pacers teams in the 49-year history of the NBA that have won 50 or more games in a season. So that would be, I think, a very remarkable feat for this group, and really set the stage for what we hope will be a long postseason, just like it was last year.
Yeah, and Bob Kravitz on with us earlier, and he's feeling good. He's loving this run that the Pacers are on, and I can't remember. I know that the run they had last year was great. I don't remember the last 3-4 weeks of the regular season leading up to the playoffs, what it was like for the Pacers. Were they just, doing how they
won games? They won 47 last year, but they're definitely at this point ahead of where they were last year with 3 games to play. They've already won 48 games. Last year, they won 47 during the whole season. If you remember, the other piece is, Jim, last year, it came down to the final game of the regular season at home against Atlanta. The Pacers had to win to secure the 6th seed and have a guaranteed playoff spot. This year, they clinched a guaranteed playoff spot, 10 days ago. So I think they are playing much better down the stretch than they probably did a year ago. They're also, knock on wood, healthier. Remember last year in late March, they lost Benedict Mathurin with the shoulder injury. He was lost for the year. Right now, the Pacers are very healthy. I expect them to moderately rest some players in and out of these next 3 games. I don't think, I don't know, but I don't think guys will just sit. We'll just have to wait and see. The good news is you have the final game of the regular season on Sunday, and then you won't play the first game of the playoffs until the following Saturday or Sunday. So you'll have a nice week of practice and rest and recharging your batteries to get ready for what you hope will be a long postseason run.
Yeah, and I know this is a little flashback, but because they're doing so well, and because the Hoosier.com is brand new now with On3, I'm going to give away an Indiana Pacers Victor Oladipo jersey, probably to draw out of the first 250 subscribers to the Hoosier.com. So I'll do that, but I'm going to give that away, start showing that. But the Pacers, they're doing it, brother. And FanDuel Sports seems like that has just worked out incredibly well.
It has. I mean, we're getting more and more viewers as the regular season winds down.
I see you. It seems like I see you a lot more.
Well, I think the other piece was we had 5 games on Channel 13 this year, WTHR, and that really helped. I mean, having those 5 over-the-air games, I think, brought more people to watch. And then maybe those people decided, if they didn't have, like I have DirecTV Stream, FanDuel Sports Network is there just like every other channel. But if you have YouTube TV or, now it's on a digital tier with Comcast. But I think the success of the team and people getting a taste of watching on WTHR, maybe, more people decided, hey, I'll purchase the app for a month or 2. So, that's where we are. We will have all of the games on FanDuel Sports Network during the first round of the playoffs. We can go side by side with either ESPN or TNT. We can't do the games if they're on ABC, but that'll also give fans a great opportunity to watch games, because in the postseason, you'll either be able to watch Quinn and I on FanDuel Sports Network, or you'll be able to watch the games on ESPN or TNT. So it's going to be an exciting month of April leading into May. I was on Indianapolis radio station yesterday and said, last year, Jim, and I was on with you every Thursday as well, we experienced a great May. A great May to me is Racers and Pacers, as we have the 500 and Pacers basketball. So hopefully we'll have that run again here this May.
Absolutely, and I look forward to seeing you up at Indianapolis Motor Speedway in Turn 4. I still have a goal of climbing up to meet you in your crow's nest.
You are welcome. I mean, there's plenty.
I climbed up there last year, but I must have been in the wrong place because I was there for a minute, and I'm like, okay, well, this is not the one he's in. And I'm like, this is enough. I'm out. But we'll do it again, buddy. I can't wait.
Yep, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, like I said, I get to the month of May, and I've got to sort of change my mindset because I'll be done doing Pacers games. I'll be going to Pacers games as long as they're playing in the playoffs. Well, once the first round is over, we can't televise anymore. So then I gotta get ready for my month of May duties out in Turn 4.
Looking forward to it, buddy, and looking forward to seeing how the Pacers do. Cannot thank you enough again for being so flexible for us. We greatly appreciate you.
All right, we'll talk to you next week. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Chris Denari, joining us from the Indianapolis Pacers. Big thanks to Coach Griff, Bob Kravitz, Mike DeCourcy, Chris Denari, and Kevin Brockway. Man, what a loaded program today. Cannot thank each and every one of you enough. Without you, it means nothing. We're so grateful for you. Make sure you go to thehoosier.com, sign up for complete coverage on the Indiana Hoosiers. We'll be giving that Oladipo jersey away. We're back tomorrow, another loaded program. Todd Leary, Zach Osterman, the recent U.S. Basketball Writers Association Beat Writer of the Year. Joe Tipton from On 3. You're not going to want to miss that. He's the most connected guy in all of college basketball. Until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.